How is it going, Bears fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Bear Down Podcast, where we talk everything Bears every day of the week. The Bears' Week 1 matchup with the Detroit Lions ended in a Deandre Swift drop in the end zone. But will Week 13 go differently after Detroit has made some changes? Today, we are back with our Week 13 coverage, kicking it off, taking a look at the Detroit Lions. It's going to be a good one. It is going to be a battle for last place in the NFC North. But joining me today, my co-hosts Parth Shaw and Jaylen McClinton. Fellas, I'm going to click you in here. How you guys doing? And Parth, I cannot hear you. Yeah.
There we go. We recorded it earlier today. Make sure you guys go check out that video. And yeah, it's just recording another one right now.
Jaylen, how's it going, buddy?
It's going good. A little depressed. Excuse me. It's been a terrible last month for us Bears fans, but I enjoy doing the stream on Sunday, so I guess that's been keeping my hopes up that we're probably going to do that for the rest of the season. But other than that, I've been a little down.
Yeah, and for us, Facecam is something that's new, at least now. It's not something we did in the past, but we're back now doing Facecam again. Joining us today, he's back from Week 1. He's a Detroit Lions beat writer for Pride of Detroit. He is here. He is excited about Matt Patricia being fired. Jeremy Reisman, welcome back, my friend.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm excited to see what's next.
Absolutely. So let's hop right into this one. Obviously, Detroit Lions 4-7. The Bears are at 5-6. ESPN's matchup predictor is going to give the Bears a 61.1% chance to win this one. The Lions with a 38.6% chance. Heading down to the pick center, the Bears are actually favored in this game. For the first time since Week 2 against the New York Giants, they are favored by 3 points as of, I believe, Tuesday evening. So that is interesting. And the over-under for the game is set at 44.5. As you guys know, we start the series off taking a look at the offense and the defense of the opposing team. So we're going to start with the Lions offense. First off, taking a look at their past 5 games, they're 1-4. They had a win, I believe, in Week 9 or 10 against the Washington football team, 30-27. But they're coming off a loss at the hands of the Houston Texans on Thanksgiving. That was a tough one. But Detroit's offense, it has looked decent. They've scored 22.9 points per game, averaging 366.6 yards per game, 270 through the air for Matthew Stafford, and 96.9 on the ground, or 96.6 on the ground, Taking a look at some of their season leaders, Matthew Stafford leads the way, passing 244 for 386, 2,876 passing yards, 18 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions on the ground. Deandre Swift has gotten it going, but it's still Adrian Peterson, who's had 119 carries, 444 yards, and 4 touchdowns. And as much as I hate to see this, their receiving leader, former Iowa Hawkeye, me being a Hawkeye fan myself, TJ Hawkinson, he's had a great year, 45 receptions, 530 yards, and 5 touchdowns. So before I pass it on to Parth and Jaylen, I'm going to pass it around to Jeremy. We've seen the offense be so-so, I would say, throughout the season so far. So what have they improved on since Week 1, and what still needs to improve heading into a Week 13 matchup with the Bears?
Well, I think the thing that needs to improve, I'll start with that first, is just they need to get healthy. They haven't had Deandre Swift the past 2 games. They haven't had Kenny Golladay for 3 or 4. The good news for Lions fans, maybe not good news for Bears fans, is that both those guys were trending towards playing almost on Thanksgiving, it sounded like. And now they've had the extra couple days of rest, where I wouldn't be surprised if both those guys are playing. They just seem to be getting Deandre Swift into the swing of things. He had just taken over a starting role, and then, of course, he gets injured. And then Kenny Golladay, obviously, he's playing for a lot right now. He's looking for a new contract. He's now got a new head coach, and it seems like maybe he had an issue with the former coach. He infamously liked an Instagram post that said Matt Patricia got fired. So maybe he comes out and plays a little bit harder once he's ready. Overall, though, there's just been a little too much inconsistency. There was an over-reliance, I think, on the running game, and once Kenny Golladay was out of the lineup, DeAndre Swift, Danny Amendola's missed a couple games. It seemed like Stafford just couldn't get into a rhythm with any of his receivers. If he gets some of those guys back, though, and with Darrell Bevell, the offensive coordinator, now acting as the interim head coach, saying he wants to maybe take a little bit more shots, wants to kind of be a deep ball, be more consistent with the deep ball, I think you might see a more aggressive and maybe even more successful offense than we've seen in the past few weeks, because the Lions did get shut out 2 weeks ago for the first time in over a decade. So they
Hey,
definitely
don't doubt my man, PJ Walker. Yeah, Jeremy, I saw a tweet from you a couple days ago on Thanksgiving that said you guys didn't like the run, pass, run. How about the run? So the Bears did avoid Galladay in week 1, but they're going to end up facing him here. Parth and Jaylen, we take a look at this Lions offense. They do have weapons. I mean, Deandre Swift has been playing some great football. Obviously, the Bears got him in his first career game and got blessed by him in week 1. But Matthew Stafford has been having a good season. You know, Kenny Galladay, Marvin Jones, Danny Amendola, Hockenson has really picked up his level of play. And they have a solid offensive line as well. So, Parth, I'm going to pass it around to you. What do you think about this Lions offense?
It's much better than a lot of people, I guess, give credit for it. You know, Matthew Stafford has been up and down all year. I'm pretty sure Lions fans weren't too happy with this game against the Texans, but you know, he's still a top 15, top 10 quarterback. He can be elite at times. So there's that, and then Kenny Galladay, really underrated wide receiver, hasn't played in weeks, but I think the Bears got pretty good cornerbacks to cover Galladay. I do respect Galladay as a wide receiver. And then Deandre Swift has been turning it up the last couple games. I know against the Bears, it was his first game as a rookie. He did drop that game-winning touchdown for us. But at the end of the day, he's been playing a lot better, and rookies usually take time to get better. And then we saw Aaron Jones have a really big game against the Bears last week, so I would not be surprised if Deandre Swift took off against us.
Yeah, Deandre Swift has had quite the year. He's proven that he's, a running back who can not only excel in the rushing game, but also out of the backfield as a pass catcher. I've loved to see how they've involved Hockenson throughout the season. I think they've gotten him incorporated very well, I believe in his second year in the league. But he's had quite the season so far. And I think this Lions offense is going to obviously see an improvement. Matt Patricia's gone. Thank God for Lions fans. Darrell Bevell, hopefully, it'll be tough if they do key up some deep shots, because we've seen obviously in the past Marvin Jones especially have good games against the Bears, and Kenny Galladay is not someone who's going to step down whatsoever. So Jaylen, I'm going to pass it back around to you now. What do you think about this Detroit Lions offense?
So before I get into about the Lions offense, I'm surprised that you're surprised about what Parth said about Matthew Stafford being a.
I mean, last time we recorded, Parth said that Matthew Stafford was a Hall of Fame quarterback. You don't remember that?
Exactly. So I don't even think Jeremy's gonna agree with that. He's a Lions fan. So this Lions offense is, they have a lot of weapons. Kenny Galladay, Marvin Jones, TJ Hockenson. He's looking like a top 10 tight end. They still have Matthew Stafford. Now, I don't think he's a Hall of Fame quarterback, but I think he's better than every quarterback the Bears have had in the last five seasons. So, he's still being able to win them some games. A couple weeks ago I wouldn't say it was a comeback, but that drive against the Redskins. Of course, the Falcons game, the Falcons blew another lead. I don't know how you accidentally score a touchdown and still lose a game. So, this Lions offense is still, kind of scaring me. They were able to score against us week 1. Thank God we won, but that's still something that worried me. So, still a lot of options. DeAndre Swift is looking very solid. I think his confidence has been up ever since he played against us and dropped the game-winning touchdown. So I think you should thank Bears fans about that one, Jeremy. But other than that, this is probably going to be a very decent game. I want to see this offense without Matt Patricia is probably the best head coach in the league to me. So definitely going to be a very solid game.
Yeah, should be a good game. Jeremy's having some technical issues on his end, but apparently he can hear me. You still got me, Jeremy?
Yeah, I can.
Good. All right. Well, we just went around the circle, talked a little bit about the Lions offense, but now it's time to shift gears, take a look at their defense. We saw a ton of corners go down with hamstring injuries in week 1 when the Bears played them, and it's been tough throughout the season. They've allowed 29.8 points per game, 408.5 yards per game. They've been allowing a decent bit on the ground, 133.4 yards per game, also 275 passing yards on average to opposing quarterbacks. We take a look at that secondary again. Obviously, I know in week 1 you talked a lot about hoping that those safeties would perform well. Deron Harmon and Tracy Walker, that is. And then Desmond Trufant, it looks like he's questionable as of right now. Jeff Okudah's listed as out, but this depth chart I'm looking at might not be all that accurate. And then Justin Coleman, once again back, I believe he was on IR. So, Jeremy, talk to me a little bit about this Lions defense and how can they look to bounce back against Chicago's horrible offense?
Well, I mean, I think you nailed it. It really starts and ends with that secondary, and they really have been struggling to stay healthy, all season. Desmond Trufant left last game with a hamstring injury. Jeff Okudah left with a shoulder injury, so we're still kind of waiting on those guys' their availability this week. I think both should be considered very much up in the air, and if that's not the case, they've been relying a lot on second-year, fifth-round pick Amani Oruwariye, who's played fairly well, kind of on and off. Didn't play great on Thanksgiving, though. Had a tough matchup with Will Fuller there. Obviously, maybe a little bit of an easier matchup this week, although Allen Robinson is a guy I think is a top 10 receiver in this league, so won't be super easy. But we've seen what Mitchell Trubisky has been able, like he has the Lions number for whatever reason. And sometimes it's only in the fourth quarter, but that's apparently all he needs. So the Lions are going to have their hands full. They're going to most likely going to be shorthanded, and their corners just have really not progressed as many would hope throughout the year. Safeties have been okay. I think Deron Harmon's been solid. They haven't really found a guy next to him that they like. They've seen a lot of Jaron Kearse, who's a guy that you didn't see in that week one matchup because he was serving a suspension. He plays about 60-70% of the snaps, tends to play a bit closer to the line. Sometimes he'll be that guy that covers your tight end, things like that. And then the Lions have gotten a little bit of a boost in pass rush with Everson Griffin, the midseason addition there, and Romeo Okwara is playing pretty well. But at this point, it's unclear if Trey Flowers is going to come off IR. He's technically available to, but there hasn't been any signs that he's ready yet. So the Lions are kind of hurting everywhere on that defense, and even when they were healthy, they weren't performing that well. So, if Mitchell Trubisky is looking for a bounce back game, this is his favorite opponent, and it wouldn't be surprising if I saw it again this week.
Yeah, that would definitely be big. I think this is a week where the Bears look to get the run game going again against the Detroit defense that's been a little bit shaky against opposing running backs. Jeremy talked about that week where they got blown out by the Carolina Panthers. Former Bear Mike Davis, Bears legend Mike Davis, 19 carries for 64 yards and a touchdown in this one. Once again, I think you have to attack that secondary, especially if Trufant and Okudah are out. It seems like they're going to be up in the air whether or not they play. The Bears, once again, didn't see Okudah in week one, but he has struggled a little bit throughout the season. We've also seen some good play from him. So, Parth, I'm going to pass it once again back around to you. What do you think about this Lions defense, and what do you think about what you saw from them on Thanksgiving against the Houston Texans?
Deshaun Watson pieced them up real quick. That's what I think I saw. Deshaun Watson, again, he's a really good quarterback, so I'm not surprised he was able to do that. But that Lions secondary is attackable. You can find holes in there. The Bears did it in week one. Trubisky in the fourth quarter threw for 3 touchdowns. Somehow, some way, we won that game. Came away with the W. I think he's gonna have to do the same here to beat this Lions defense. You got to find the holes in second. I think he has been able to do that against that Lions secondary consistently in his career so far. But against this Bears offense is at a whole new level of low. The players have seemed like they're falling apart. The locker room hasn't been as strong. So, it's going to be a tough task to get those guys going. Allen Robinson looks like he wants out. So, if you want to, it's going to be tough for Trubisky, I think, and then to get that run game going. We got to get that run game going. We saw against the Packers, we had that big 57-yard run in that first drive of the game. I think if the Bears can somehow stay in this game, not get too far behind, we can at least utilize the run game a lot more, because I think the Packers' run defense wasn't as strong, but we weren't able to utilize the run game because we fell behind real quick. So if we can stay in the game against this Lions team, pound the rock with Montgomery and then find the holes in the secondary, I think we have a solid chance.
Yeah, the Bears were able to find success in the passing and the rushing game in week one against the Lions. Montgomery had 13 carries for 64 yards, 4.9 yards per carry. The Bears obviously missing their dynamic piece, Tariq Cohen, but he had 40 rushing yards in that game. And then in the receiving game, we saw Anthony Miller and Allen Robinson feast. I believe they combined for 150 receiving yards and a touchdown. Also, both of them averaged over 15 yards per catch. And we also saw Darnell Mooney get involved in that game. So I think the Bears are going to be able to hopefully spread the ball here. Mitchell Trubisky, Jeremy mentioned it earlier, he plays pretty well against the Lions. He was 20 for 36, 242 yards and 3 touchdowns in that first game with a passer rating of 104.2. So Jaylen, before we close this one off or head towards the latter stretch, I guess you could say, what do you think about this Lions defense, and do you think Mitchell Trubisky will be able to have success against them again?
this is the worst part of their team, which is their defense. You know, they gave up 41 points to Deshaun Watson and the Houston Texans, and they haven't been a very good team this season. You know, they gave up 171 yards to Will Fuller, which was so crazy to the NFL. They decided to drug test him and suspend him for the rest of the season due to him being illegal PD. So, they might be better without Matt Patricia, who was a defensive mastermind. You know, like he's like Matt Nagy.
Definitely not a mastermind, but a good defense.
That's what he was hired for, and obviously he's not that. So I want to see Mitchell Trubisky do what he's able to do the last couple of seasons. Week 1, hopefully we're able to score in the first, second, third quarter, not just the fourth. So you know, this Lions defense, like I said before, is very weak. They're missing some key corners and pieces in the secondary, but they might be better without Matt Patricia, and that's kind of scaring me.
Yeah,
especially and Mitchell Trubisky.
Yeah, they might be better without Matt Patricia, and we'll end up seeing how that one goes. But Jeremy, before we close this one out, I mean, obviously we're going to talk a little bit about how each team can win in this game. Last week, you know, say what you want about garbage time and whatnot, but the Bears' offense did look a little bit better when they were able to get the run game going. Obviously, David Montgomery rushing for 103 yards. He broke out that big 57-yarder on the Bears' first drive. So what do you think the Lions have to do to slow down the Bears, or anything they have to do to give themselves a chance to win this game? Because it seems like if you can slow down the run for Chicago, they become quite one-dimensional.
Yeah, I think that's definitely one of the keys that the Lions will try to do defensively, is stop that run. And it's something they've actually been a lot better at out of the bye week. Really, the only big mistake, rough day that they've had since the bye week is that Minnesota game where Dalvin Cook just ran all over him, which, he does to just about everyone these days. So they've kind of changed their strategy a little bit. They've gone a little heavier looks with 3 defensive tackles in the game sometimes. So we might see a little bit of that on Sunday. The problem is, though, if that forces the Bears to pass the ball, the Lions haven't been very good at defending the pass at all this year. So, and that's kind of what we saw in that first matchup. The Lions really stopped that Bears offense for the first 3 quarters of that game. The Bears then got into a bit of a desperation mode in that fourth quarter, and then they threw all over the Lions. And so I could certainly see something like that happening again. Offensively speaking, I think the Lions, they might just kind of be feeling things out. I know under Matt Patricia, they were quite conservative in general. They ran the ball a lot, as I mentioned a couple times, especially on those early downs. I did get a sense from a new interim head coach that I think the plan is to maybe be a little bit more aggressive, maybe be taking more shots, have a little more fun out there, let the ball loose a little bit. And so if we see that on Sunday, that wouldn't surprise me. And the Bears defense, I still have a ton of respect for, despite the fact they had a rough go of it against Aaron
Rodgers, man.
Exactly. So I think we could be kind of in for a game that was really played out a lot like that first game, where Lions might get out to an early lead, but once that game kind of settles in, the Bears, kind of reset and maybe aim to throw the ball a little bit more, Lions could be in trouble again.
Yeah, it should be an interesting one. The Bears surely are going to hope to get Mitchell Trubisky out and going in this one, because he obviously does perform well against the Lions. I don't have his career stats up against the Lions, but he's been someone ever since probably 2018 who has gone off against them, and Matt Patricia specifically. So I would be a little hopeful that he is gone now. Hopefully that can help you guys out a little bit. But before we get Jeremy's score prediction in this one, Parth, I want to pass it to you. What do you think the Bears are going to have to do to win this one? We've seen the Lions be shaky. They're 1-4 in their last 5. What do the Bears have to do to bounce back and not get into a 6-game skid in week 13?
Yeah, that would be rough. 6-game losing streak, that would be something else. But I think it's simple. We got to get out ahead. We got to score early. The Bears haven't been able to score early at all this year, which is why it's a recipe for disaster. If you can't get ahead in the game, you're not going to be able to win the game. We've been playing a lot of behind football. It's hard to catch up. Our offense is stagnant. The offense line is the best, and the quarterback play is subpar. So if the Bears want to get up in this game, we got to come out strong, score early. Hopefully the Lions offense starts off flat like they did last week. I think they had 2 turnovers to start off the game. So take advantage of those turnovers and basically score points.
Yeah, that's got to be the key. I mean, if we look back at the week 1 game, the Bears were down, 17 heading into that fourth quarter, and they dug themselves a huge hole in the first 3 quarters. So coming out strong in the beginning is going to be huge. But before we pass it around to Jeremy, Jaylen, anything to add there? Or Parth hit it on the head?
He basically hit it on the head. I just feel like we should use David Montgomery more. Ever since he come back, it's only been 1 week since he came back from his concussion, but he had a very solid game against the Packers. Over 100 rushing yards, touchdown. I think he had over 50 receiving yards as well. So definitely a solid game. His first 100-yard game of the season. So definitely good to see that. Hopefully that can build on something like last season where the first, I would say, like half of the season, he wasn't able to get a lot of rushing yards. And then the second half is where he started to play well. So hopefully we see that once again this season. Offensive line didn't look that bad. Of course, they gave up a Mitchell Trubisky strip sack for a touchdown, but other than that, he was, pretty. He had a lot of time in the pocket,
Protected as well as we can ask for.
Yeah, especially with Mitchell Trubisky, he's able to run out the pocket, something we didn't see with Nick Foles. Run the ball. Hopefully use Mitchell legs, continue to roll out the pocket, get him on play actions and stuff like that. And then the defense, continue to do what the defense does. I'm kind of surprised we gave up 41 points. That's something that we don't see a lot from this Bears defense, but it's Aaron Rodgers. The offense was giving the ball up in good field position for the Packers. So definitely don't think we see that for another year or so. So continue to do what the defense does, and let's see us get a win at Soldier Field.
Yeah, I mean, you can't knock Aaron Rodgers for putting up points on us. That was the first time the Bears had let up 40 points or more since 2016. But let's close this one off. Let's close it quickly. Jeremy, before we go, what is your score prediction for Sunday?
Yeah, it's a tough one to really predict because obviously both teams are not playing where they want to be right now. And with the Lions making that head coaching change, you never kind of know how the first game is going to look out of it. But I do think the Lions are going to have some success offensively. Defensively, I don't really see much changing. So I do think the score might be a little bit higher than some people are expecting. So I'll go 27-24 Bears.
Okay, he's picking the Bears this time. I remember last time he chose the Lions, but hey, that would hit the over for the game. That would make a lot of bettors happen. But Jeremy Reisman, thank you so much for joining us. It's always a pleasure.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
If you guys want more from Jeremy, you can head over to prideofdetroit.com. He does a ton of work on there. Also, he's on Twitter at Detroit on Lion. If you want more from us, you can head over to our website, beardown.com. We're posting columns, articles, and blogs every day of the week, so be sure to head over there, check our stuff out. Also, follow us on Instagram and Twitter at beardown. Doing another Christmas giveaway soon. We love giving back to you guys. You guys allow us to do this, so be sure to head over there and check us out. We're going to be announcing another giveaway soon. Parth, Jaylen McClinton, a 6-game skid would be quite catastrophic. So any last words before we close this one out?
I was surprised Jeremy predicted us to win. Not going to lie. I myself do not have us winning this game. A little sneak peek into my, prediction. But, hopefully the Bears can avoid the 6-game losing streak. That sounds not fun. Let's just say that.
I think I'm probably the only optimistic Bears fan. I think we can still a possible chance we can make to the playoffs. But I know after this week, if we lose, I definitely know we're not making the playoffs at 5-7. So, other than that, I'm not looking forward to this game because I'm just tired of seeing this offense play football. Honestly, but, I'm looking forward to the stream though. I like talking with the fans. But
yeah,
that's about it. Bear down.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure to be your host, guys. Once again, my name is Chris Maltby. I've got to get up and out of here. I've got a Chipotle order waiting at my door, so at least there's something to look forward to that isn't the Bears losing a game. But it's been a pleasure once again, Bears fans and Lions fans alike that are listening. Do us a favor, continue to stay safe. And as always, to you Bears fans still tuning in, bear down. We'll see you in the next one.